Welcome to our regular City Council meeting tonight of July 20th, 2017. We'll excuse Mayor Blad and also Councilman Roger Bray. We'll begin with roll call, and then after roll call, Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll move to our invocation, which will be offered by Tony Cycle of the Portneuf Senga.
Adamson.
Here.
Gray. Brown.
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Ford.
Gone.
Glad.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a quote from His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, which is advice on living with gratitude. Every day, think as you wake up. Today I am fortunate to be alive. I have a precious human life. I am not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts toward others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. Thank you, members of council, for your generous gift of service to the people of Pocatello.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to agenda item number 3, the consent agenda. A, minutes. Council may wish to waive the oral reading of the minutes and approve the minutes from the July 6, 2017 Council Liaison Working Lunch. B, Treasurer's Report. Council may wish to consider the Treasurer's Report for June, showing cash and investments as of June 30, 2017. Joyce?
Good evening, council members. Joyce Stroshine, Chief Financial Officer for the city. Tonight I'm presenting the Treasurer's Report for the month of June 2017. Total cash and cash equivalents represent 85% of the city's monies, totaling $30,619,011. Total long-term investments represent 15% of city monies, totaling $5,367,149. Total cash, cash equivalents, and long-term investments total $35,986,161. This amount is down $3,779,473 for the month of June. On page 2 of the report, I've highlighted key receipts for the month. Zoo grant, Zoo Marsh, $50,000. Transit grant, State of Idaho, $50,864. ISU, the Municipal Services Agreement, $53,455. Transit grant, Federal, $76,797. Idaho Transportation Department for the federal aid reimbursement projects. The majority is for the Benton Street Bridge, $87,448. Idaho liquor tax, $124,973. This amount is up 7.43% from the prior year. Airport grant, $442,614. The remaining section details the net change in cash and long-term investments for the city. On page 3 of the report, I report on the trust funds. Total cash and cash equivalents for the trust funds are $1,195,953. Total long-term investments, $4,684,927. Total cash, cash equivalents, and long-term investments, $5,880,881. Total cash receipts for the month, $39,416. Total cash disbursements, $57,181. Net change in long-term investments is a decrease of $54,953 for an overall reported decrease of $72,718 for the month. Page 4 of the report lists all fund cash balances with the net change for the month. I highlighted the general fund, which is at a balance of $5,660,242 for the month. On page 5 of the report, it is discussion and analysis for your review. Page 6 of the report, this report is on the cash ending balances for the past 5 years. This report reflects a strong cash position. The negative balances are covered by grants, tax revenue or a transfer from a fund or grant revenues received in the following month, and that should cover all of our negative balances for this report.
Great. Yes, sir.
Joyce, I think there are many citizens who have no idea what we're doing with state investment pool, short-term, long-term.
Right.
Would you take a minute and explain how we have safely put our funds to work?
Well, we're fortunate in the state of Idaho that we have a local investment pool. It's more of a, shall we say, a cash-ready pool, but it invests for us, and so we can send our monies there. Most of our monies go there on the short-term basis because we can call it down within a day. So it allows for us to hold our monies there for the majority and then pull it in. Now, for monies that we don't have to reach in and grab right away, we have a long-term investment pool that's also governed by the state, and we hold about $5 million in that fund. But these are governed by the state, so they follow all the state laws and rules of liquidity and safety. And so it's just a safe way and a good approach for the city to hold its monies. Most agencies go this route just because of the safety and liquidity, which is our key primary. And then what can we earn on it comes third.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
C, appointment of environmental officer HUD. In order to review and approve environmental assessment requirements for projects being funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development within the city limits, council may wish to appoint Adam Lane, CDBG Program Manager, to the position of Environmental Review Officer. D, annual agreement, ISU work study positions. Council may wish to approve a college work-study agreement with Idaho State University in the amount of $26,000 to provide work-study positions at the city. The city is responsible for 40% of said allocation, which is $10,400. Term of the agreement is July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2018. This is an annual agreement, and departments utilizing the positions have included this expense in their budget.
Mr. Council President, I move that we approve our consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Connie, please call the roll.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Thank you. Item agenda number 4, communications and proclamations. We have no proclamations, and so we will move to agenda item number 5. Council may wish to take this opportunity to inform other council members of upcoming meetings and events that should be called to their attention. Our next council meeting is August 3rd. We'll begin at 1 p.m. with a council liaison working lunch, and then 5 p.m. with a special city council meeting with the police union quarterly report. And that night, our regular council meeting begins at 6 o'clock. And then on August 10th, 9 a.m., we have a study session. There are, believe it or not, other things happening in this city. The splash dance at Ross Park Aquatic Complex will be held July 20 from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Councilman Orr will be our liaison to that tonight. It'll be tonight, by the way. We have our summer concert series, Ross Park Band concerts held on Sunday evenings through July 30th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then we have our Total Eclipse Town Hall meetings held here at the City Council chambers. The July meetings will be the 24th at 11 a.m., and that is for tow truck companies. And then the 28th at 8 a.m., and that's for restaurants and convenience stores. And then we will have an August meeting on the 8th at 6 p.m. for the general public for information about that. Agenda item number 6. This is a public hearing, proposed fiscal year 2017 budget amendments for the police department. This time has been set aside for the council to receive public comments on proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2017 budget for the police department. I declare the public hearing open. Joyce.
Good evening, council members. Joyce Stroshine, Chief Financial Officer of the city. The 2017 budget adopted in August of 2016 was developed with anticipated grants and estimated revenues. The council elects to adopt a restrictive budget and amend in detail for unplanned revenues and expenses. Tonight, the Finance Department is requesting additional budget authority for expenditures related to unforeseen revenues and expenses in the General Fund Police Department and the Police Grants Fund. On July 13th, I provided a detailed discussion at the study session regarding these amendments. The additional authority is needed for training, supplies, used vehicles, and surveillance equipment for the Police Department and the Police Narcotics Division. The revenue is provided by state grants and fines and forfeitures issued by the courts. The total for all the amendments is $61,222. This amendment process began with 2 required public notices on July 5th and July 12th in the Idaho State Journal. After the public hearing and at the end of tonight's meeting, the council will consider the amended ordinance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or discussion, Joyce? Okay, thank you. Joyce, I'm sorry, did you receive any written correspondence?
No, I have not received any.
Okay, thank you. Well, then we will ask for testimonies by those supporting this application. Ask for, well, I'm reading my own instructions. I'm supposed to ask for testimony by those uncommitted on the application. Last chance. Testimony for those opposed to this. Well, thank you very much. Would you like to rebut any of the testimony? All right, because that's right here on number 8. Close the public hearing, and we'll take action on this at the end of our agenda tonight. Agenda item number 7 is a public hearing for the Great American Eclipse RV parking fee permit process resolution. This time has been set aside for the council to receive comments from the public in order to adopt a resolution outlining the following items in connection with the Great American Eclipse event. A, establish a special permit fee for recreational vehicles, RV, parking of 2 or more at the same address in the amount of $100, subject to city guidelines and processes. And B, allow exceptions to Pocatello Municipal Code 10.42.040 and 10.42.060. I'm not an expert like you. I didn't go to school for this stuff. And 17.05.560 to allow RV parking with a special permit in certain areas within the city limits during the Great American Eclipse event, specifically from August 18th through the 22nd, 2017, as presented at the June 8th, 2017 study session. We will declare that the public hearing is open, and we'll ask Joyce to talk to us about this.
Good evening, council members. Tonight we are holding the public hearing for the proposed Great American Eclipse RV parking exception permit. The proposed fee will be instituted for the period of August 18th through August 22nd, 2017. The permit for allowance of 2 or more RVs on premises will assist in tracking for the event. This action will allow for proper placement of the RVs for emergency access. It will also let the property owner applicant know what their requirements are related to the permit. The permitting process follows these steps: submit form, site plan, and the $100 fee to the building department. The site plan needs to depict the proposed layout with dimensions of each RV space, drive aisles, and all accesses to a public street. Staff from sanitation, fire, and planning will review the applications. Once approvals are received, a permit will be issued. The applicant will be called to either pick it up or it will be mailed, discretion of the applicant. The deadline for all applications will be August 7th. It is staff's goal to have all permits approved by August 14th. On July 6, 2017, the council approved staff-level approval of exceptions to the Pocatello Municipal Code for RV parking during the Great American Eclipse. Tonight, consideration will be given to citizens' opinions related to this fee at this public hearing. The final step in this process is to adopt the fee resolution after the public hearing. Upon adoption of the fee resolution, permits can begin processing. This concludes my report, and I will address any questions at this time.
Questions or discussion with Joyce? Okay, thank you. Any written correspondence?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone?
Council President.
Yes.
In addition to what Joyce has said, I would like to hear Officer Paul Manning respond in terms of what the preparations are for this area. I mean, it's incredible what's happening, and I don't think people are fully aware of how significant this event might be in the way of an impact on our community. And I've heard a presentation by Paul, and you don't need to do that much, but something.
Just your opinion, just the facts, sir.
Good evening, Council. I'm Paul Manning. I'm the Lieutenant of Investigations for the Police Department. This event's only like a minute and 33 seconds long, but the preparations have been amazing. This is literally a all hands on deck. This is one of those situations. We're here in Pocatello, the police department. Nobody has been granted the day off unless it was a previously scheduled vacation. All of our detectives will be in uniforms, and we'll have extra dispatchers on duty, and all the calls will be handled on a priority basis during the eclipse. Additionally, just briefly, several of us from Pocatello are part of the Region 3 All Hazards Incident Management Team, and we will actually be in Idaho Falls setting up an area command to assist the individual counties with their incident commands, so that if any particular county or incident command post gets overrun by fire or traffic or whatever, then the area command, we can step in to direct resources, maybe from here or wherever, to assist in whatever the situation is.
Would you comment in terms of the potential numbers that could come into our area based on that long interstate pattern?
Well, we just took into consideration that I-15 comes down from the north from Montana and Canada, and I-15 goes south clear into Southern California. So the potential is there's 38 million people that are within a day's drive of Pocatello and Idaho Falls. Statistically, they figured if just 1% of those people decided to come to this area to view the eclipse, it would be 380,000 people. And that's the number we've been working with in our preparations. This is going to affect a lot more than just Idaho Falls.
Would you discuss some of the high muckies that are coming to our area and have reserved space?
Another question.
Sorry?
No, I was talking to Councilman Johnson.
It's just our understanding that we have a lot of citizens coming from foreign countries that have reserved a good chunk of Jackson Hole. We have a big group coming from the United Kingdom. That's my understanding. They've somehow reserved a mountain from BLM, and they have a situation with Mount Bora that the Forest Service is going to have to spread Forest Service employees along the trail going to the peak of Bora, and at the point that they think that Mount Bora is full, that they can't handle any more people, they're just going to shut it off, and everybody will just have to stop wherever they are on the trail. And so you can just kind of picture that there's going to be that kind of gridlock all over the region. It's either going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be like total gridlock, or it's going to be a Y2K where we make all these preparations and nothing happens.
Which would be great.
Yep, we would prefer to have the latter.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. To remind you, we were talking about the Great American Eclipse RV parking fee and permit process resolution, and that in this resolution, in this public hearing, we will take testimony from those supporting what we're trying to do here, implementing this resolution. Nobody supports this? I'm just kidding. Is there anybody that is uncommitted to this resolution?
Probably lots of them.
Any opposed to this action? Well then, I will, do you want to rebut any of that?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you very much. You don't want to rebut, Paul? We will close the hearing, the public hearing, and I declare it closed. And council, this item is before you. How do you wish to proceed?
I move we approve both items A and B.
We have a motion from Councilman Johnston.
Second?
And a second from Council Member Adamson. Any further discussion? Connie, would you please call the roll?
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. That agenda item passes. Agenda item number 8, short plat Hillside Village subdivision, Pars Holding LLC maybe, represented by Bryce Jolly of HLE, has submitted a short plat application to subdivide approximately 6.34 acres into 2 residential lots located on Bertie Thompson and Hospital Way. Staff recommends approval with conditions outlined in the staff report.
Do we have any presentation on this?
There is none unless you have a question.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, Councilman Moore.
Mr. President, I move to approve the request with conditions.
Approve the request with conditions. Is there a second?
Don't we have a public hearing?
It's not a public hearing, just an item on the agenda. So we have a motion by Councilman Moore. Do I have a second?
Well, I would second it.
Okay, Councilman Johnston.
Maury has something here. The participants are here.
Merrill Quell, the Public Works Engineer for the City of Pocatello. I know that Mr. Kevin Alcott, the owner, is here and would wish to speak to you. So I know the motion's already been made, but I'm just letting you know.
I'd like to hear from him.
And then I can follow up after that.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Do you have a specific question for him? If we could invite him to the...
What's going to happen to this land? I mean, it looks exciting.
Mr. Alcott, would you please come forward and state your name and address and answer the question?
Poor question.
Kevin Alcott, representing Pars Holdings LC, which is, it is not an, it's an LLC, but it can be either LC or LLC under the state.
Great.
Honestly, this is we need to subdivide the property in order to build future phases and to do the financing. That's what this is about. Simple, except I have some real concerns with some of the conditions that have been placed on this. And I actually spoke with Mr. Quayle earlier today and expressed my concerns. There are some conditions that are put onto this that I don't have now.
Talk about the access. That's
okay. So the access, that would be my foremost one. You're asking me to sign a plat that says I'm going to give up my access rights to that piece of property. That's a devaluation of that piece of property. I won't do it. I just won't do the plat. That'll prohibit me from being able to finance additional units. It'll just, sit there vacant for the next 10 years or however long it takes. We don't intend to put an access there, but you can't give up that right. And it's interesting that in this instance, we're saying we can't have access there, but I've been here twice before on behalf of the gastroenterology clinic that's across Hospital Way from us, and they wanted to buy that piece of property for some overflow parking, and that was approved here with access from Hospital Way. There's a street right across the street, an intersection that comes in right there. And that you're wanting me to sacrifice my access rights to that piece of property, that's not acceptable to me. There's several conditions here that I have issue with. I don't know if it's normal. Normally, this says that I have to have CC&Rs that I may put in place reviewed by the city attorney. And I've done developments in numerous cities in eastern Idaho. Never have I had a city engineer reviewing CC&Rs. Those are a private contract, basically, between a seller and a buyer that say these are things that are not acceptable. These are not public. The city doesn't enforce those. The city doesn't, I can assure you, people will be calling me if there's issues with those covenants. I don't understand that. If that's what your ordinance is, I'm happy to do it. I'd be surprised if the ordinance does require that. Maybe it does. I haven't seen it. So I just have, in a construction business, we call that scope creep. You know, we got a chance here to put a bunch of conditions on this piece of property that really maybe the ordinance doesn't allow or doesn't require. And I just want to make sure we're not doing that. So the restriction, the grading and stormwater drainage, I want to put an easement on there. I already have a stormwater pond there. It's there. Who am I giving that easement to? Right? Your ordinance requires me to maintain all the stormwater generated on that site, on site, and we do that. Who am I granting that easement to? If I grant that easement to the city, is the city taking over ownership of that stormwater detention basin? Are they going to maintain it? I have my doubts. So why am I asked to put an easement there? The ordinance requires me to maintain the stormwater. We've done that, I think, quite admirably for the last 20 years. I don't understand why we're adding easements. We're adding, unnecessary restrictions. Just a quick correction. The staff report says we have 124 units. We actually have 32 units there. They may have looked at some of our advertising. We have 124 beds for college kids, but we do not have 124 units. I believe in the memo it says there was a more comprehensive review was going to be done. I think that was done today. I've talked to my engineers. They said they had a meeting with the city, I think city surveyor. Supposedly they got all the little nuts and bolts taken care of. I'd be hesitant to have something approved that hasn't been reviewed, because at that point never really got anything approved. Now we're just at the discretion of someone reviewing it, and I thought that was all done prior to now. So to answer your question, that's what we're doing. We're trying to get it to where we can finance additional units. We do not intend to have access to those two streets, but I'm unwilling to give up that right. That just devalues the property. And I'll give you a case. That brush fire you had up there the other day, if that burns over the hill there and burns our apartments down, I could build more units there, right? The zoning now allows more units. Without a secondary access, it limits the number of units I can build in there legally. And so that's why it's important. It may not be important this year or next year, but it could be very important in 15 years or 20 years or who knows. You just can't give that up on a whim. And I'm not saying it's a whim, but you got to be cautious. Any other questions I can help you with?
You did a marvelous job with my question. Thank you.
He's done this before.
Huh?
You've done this before.
Thank you.
Thank you. My guess is that we'd like Merrill to come up and answer
Can I ask you?
some of those concerns, please.
Merrill, let's start with the access one, just briefly. So if we don't limit his access, and 2 years down the road he decides to build something there, is there a process there that will look at access? Or what we do here today deals with access for now and forever?
There could be, if the restriction is placed, there can always come to council to lift the access restrictions. However, I'd like to take one step back for the access and the reason for the restriction. As Mr. Alcott has said, that he has come here and received access, and if he has access, right now that's a one piece of property, he has access to the property. Access rights does not mean you have free-for-all access wherever they can be placed and wherever. The access that he is referring to, one of them is in 2005 with the across the street for the parking lot, was recommended for denial by city staff. That went to the public hearing examiner, was then also held up with staff recommendations to deny the access at that time and and the permit. It came to City Council, and the City Council, after much deliberation, made a motion to uphold the staff recommendation for denial. And from my notes, it looks like it was denied based upon the lack of a vote. A secondary motion was made that access would be granted from Bertie Thompson only, not Hospital Way, and that was passed 4-2. So that is one of the issues that he's asked for. The access and from the policy manual, the geometric design of highways and streets, vertical sight distance and everything is quite extensive, and I would recommend from an engineering point of view that there would be no access the way that it would be set up on Hospital Way. If the council desires to grant or allow any access to this additional breaking of the property, because that's what's happening now, is right now there's one, but there's conditions that go when you want to break up parcels and stuff, and that's what we're looking at, the access. If you desire to have access, I would require or ask that you would put the condition on from the point of tangency or the point of termination of the radius on Bertie Thompson going up about 80 feet before that access could be, so it would be at the top end of the Lot 1 that would be access to. So that is to answer your question on the access.
Okay, so then talk to us about CC&Rs.
The CC&Rs, if you read what was put in there, it says, clarify if there are any CC&Rs associated with this plat. If there are CC&Rs, they need to be submitted for review by the city legal department. That's only to clarify if there are CC&Rs, they need to be reviewed so that we can make sure that the city is not held to some circumstances and that in there. So there's not a requirement that there's CC&Rs. We don't require them, but we do say if there are, they need to be reviewed by our legal team before they are recorded, to just make sure that the city isn't held up with.
Okay, do we ask that of everybody?
Yes, we do.
Stormwater easement, talk to us about that.
The stormwater easement, there currently, when the apartments were constructed there and improvements done to Bertie Thompson, there's one catch basin at the bottom on the south side of the intersection of Hospital Way and Bertie Thompson. There's a pipe from there that goes over to the pond with the requirement that he was to take care of his portion of the road, and there's that one catch basin. As far as I can see, I cannot see any easements for that pipe to go over to that pond. So this would be a cleanup situation where we would get an easement in there so that that first requirement to take that portion of Bertie Thompson over to that pond, plus the sizing of his existing development and any proposed development that would be on there, that would be sized appropriately. But the easement would be to protect the stormwater from Bertie Thompson, and the requirement, as always, is to take care of that portion of their development that had been developed and improved at that time.
Okay, Merrill, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
The access that we're recommending be removed, where is this at? I mean, you're talking about a radius, and this is on the corner of Bertie Thompson and Hospital Way.
Correct.
So the radius of what?
The radius of the intersection of Bertie Thompson with the curb and gutter that's going around the corner there.
Onto Hospital Way.
Onto Hospital Way.
And that typical distance for access is what?
What I was asking is the top end is approximately 80 feet before the access could be started.
Okay, and then where's the other easement or access that you're recommending we deny?
The access to deny was any access to Hospital Way directly.
Okay, so from the picture, it looks like any access onto Hospital Way at this point in time would impact the storm.
That's possible that it could impact the storm water there if it's not deep enough.
If what's not deep enough?
if the piping isn't deep enough. The
Oh,
pond is on the
over the-
south side of the property.
Okay. Don't have a, let me see, look at this legend. If we got a,
Where the trees are?
Are you
the
looking,
pond?
yeah, where the trees and the green is, that's where the pond is.
Okay.
okay, so,
In your-
okay. So what's the bare spot in the picture? Is that just,
That would be just the open ground. You're seeing the native vegetation that,
okay, so I see 6 units in there right now. Is that correct?
that's what I'm seeing, yes.
Okay, so with 3 beds, that's a maximum of 18 bodies, or?
That part I cannot respond to, I'm
He
sorry.
said there were 32 units, 124 beds.
So it's 32 units, 124 beds.
That's what I looked at.
Yeah. Then why wouldn't we normally require a secondary egress for fire safety and such?
The way the apartment complex is and set up, like I said, we could put another one down possibly on Bertie Thompson, but because of sight distance and looking at everything else we have, I would recommend not.
Right, because I'm assuming in this schematic that access off Bertie Thompson is just outside the radius of the...
Coming up so that we have enough so the cars can make that
Yeah.
turn
Sight distance.
and still be able to make, a stopping distance so we're not causing another problem at the intersection on Hospital Way. That access would need to be up high enough to not cause that
Okay, and then
conflict.
clarification on CCRs, that's just for review to make sure the city does not become liable.
For anything placed inside the CCNRs. If there's no CCNRs, then there's no review. There's no, it's not saying there has to be any CCNRs.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
The more extensive, he brought that up too, if I may comment
yes.
on that. The more extensive is to make sure that we're doing any council conditions or anything else that may come out of this meeting. Typically at the city of Pocatello, we don't require that all of the plat is ready to go and signed right after this meeting. Harper Levitt did meet with our city surveyor today, went over some stuff. There were some corrections and stuff, but that plat will still needs some corrections and looking at before it is ready to be recorded. So that just implies that there always needs to be more because the plat that's in here in your packet right now is not ready for recording.
Okay.
I believe that's everything that I'd like to respond to. If there's no other questions.
Thanks.
I have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes. Please state your name again.
Kevin Olcott, again.
As staff has just described with the alternative for access, would that satisfy you with that requirement? Or-
No. And here's why. There's a very extensive site plan review process in the city of Pocatello where all of those things are addressed, and they'll be adequately addressed then. If you put a deed restriction that lasts forever, right? It doesn't make sense to me to say, we're going to put a restriction on here in the rare case that I'm actually going to want that access, right? What I don't want to do is give up a property right now that I think, for a reason that I think is unnecessary. That's why we have a site plan review. I can't build anything here without coming to the city, presenting a site plan. It's reviewed by every department in the city, including Public Works, Engineering, and we'll have those discussions. I can tell you right now, I don't plan on putting an access there, but it's a property rights issue. You don't want to give up a right to that property. Maybe it's not an absolute right. I can't say I can go anywhere on Hospital Way and put it in there, but I can't give up that right. It just doesn't make sense to give up that right.
Okay. And do you have any CCNRs right now that you
I
are
do not
wanting?
have CCNRs.
Okay.
And if you need to submit them, that's fine. I don't understand that logic. I'm not an attorney either, so But I can't
Sounds like that would be
obligate the city
resolved
to
then.
anything.
Okay.
Right? I don't have the ability, I could put anything I want in writing and sign it and record it. I don't obligate the city to anything, and I can't.
Thank you.
Anything else? Happy to answer. I'm here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I do have one question for Marilyn.
Yeah.
You do? Go ahead.
Well, it might be your question, so
Well, then go ahead. No, please. Ladies
Well, I was
first.
just wondering if you could speak to the comment about the access being addressed in site plan review instead of on the deed.
There is always the access would be brought up in the site plan and the review process and that too. But however, it would, we've already looked at that as staff and determined that through the plating process at this time, and to be able to put that restriction on there because there is a site distance problem. There's not going to be any change to Hospital Way. I don't see any change to that road. The site distance is not going to change or become better in the future. He keeps asking about a property right. We'd have to talk to Rich for sure, but he has access to his property. It does not indicate that he can have access from Hospital Way or certain instances if there is conflicting problems that may arise. So, to have that as a property right, he has access to his property. He's not being denied access. And to restrict it because of a safety issue on Hospital Way with the site distance, same thing that we went through with the parking lot application in 2005. It was found by that council to uphold the access and not have that on Hospital Way, but granted it on Bertie Thompson.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Merrill.
Thanks.
We do have a motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Mr. Johnston. Do we still have that? Any modifications by the maker of the motion?
Call the question.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, second still stands?
It does.
Okay, then no further discussion. Connie, please call the roll.
Moore.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Orr.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Agenda item number 9, change of a utility billing classification, 648 South 6th Avenue. Council may wish to consider a request from Arlen Walker that the property at 648 South 6th Avenue, which is a multi-family dwelling, be classified as a single-family home for utility billing purposes.
Mr. Council President, I'd move to approve that request.
Second.
Oh,
He
I
can
don't,
have it.
okay. He hasn't made any yet, so we'll go with Mr. Any further discussion? So we have a motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Mr. Orr. Connie, please call the roll.
Moore.
Yes.
Orr.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, motion passes. Agenda item number 10, bid police department vehicles trade-in and purchase request. Council may wish to accept the recommendation of police staff to purchase the following vehicles, subject to legal department review. The lawyers make us say that.
Yes. From
Cole Chevrolet, who submitted the lowest responsive bid for 2 used vehicles in the amount of $42,401. And the recommendations are A, 1 2015 Nissan Rogue in the amount of $17,763. B, 1 2012 Chevrolet Silverado in the amount of $24,938. If approved, staff proposes to trade in 6 drug seizure vehicles to Cole Chevrolet for a total trade-in allowance of $17,600 to help offset the purchase price. The final purchase price bid offer is $25,101. Funds to purchase the vehicles are available in the narcotics seizure account, contingent upon passage of a July budget amendment ordinance and publication July 26, 2017. An ordinance has been prepared for later on. Council.
I move we approve subject to the ordinance that is going to be considered later on the agenda.
Regarding A and B.
A and B, yes.
And the trade-in.
And the trade-ins.
Subject to legal department review.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnston and a second by Mr. Moore. Any further discussion? Connie, please call the roll.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Motion passes. Agenda item number 11, temporary street closure, open container waiver request, Uncorked Wine Festival. Postavino's Uncorked, represented by Jennifer Jackman, is requesting to temporarily close the 100 block of North Union Pacific Avenue and is also asking for a waiver of city ordinances regarding open containers to allow the sale of beer and wine on August 26, 2017 for the second annual Uncorked Wine Festival. Postavino's is requesting that the street be closed from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. for the event. If the open container is waived, it should be contingent upon the application meeting police department requirements and the appropriate catering permits being purchased.
I'd move to approve the request.
Second?
A motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Ms. Adamson. Any further discussion?
Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Paul, would you like to come forward and explain to us why you're doing this again this year? Tell us all the good things that happened doing this.
So my name is Jennifer Jackman. I'm the owner of Postavino, and I am the creator of the Uncorked Wine Festival. And this is our second year doing it. Last year, for us, I think was a good start. We had about 200 people. And just from our clientele, the wine people from Pocatello, like there's nothing like that we have in Pocatello. So we just created an event just for them. So it worked out pretty well.
Why is the street necessary to be?
Because we have, this year there's 100 bottles of wine by different vendors. So they spread out, and then so you can go to each table. They can do like California wines or European wines. They do however they want, but there's 4 different vendors. So they kind of have their own little setup. So, yeah, it's
How long would it take me to get through those 100 samples?
you can do it pretty quick, but yeah.
The question is, how big is the glass?
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Ms. Adamson. Any further discussion? Connie, please call the roll.
Moore.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Motion passes. Agenda item number 12, resolution for our city flag design. Council may wish to adopt a resolution that establishes the design as the official flag of City of Pocatello. The working title is Mountains Left. From this point forward, it will not be known as that. Correct?
Correct.
All right. The design and color specifications are included as attachment A. Council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to approve the flag design.
Mr. Moore.
I'll second that, but I would like Logan to come up and explain the significance to the audience of the various features of our flag.
All right, so Council President, members of the council, Logan McDougall, Public Information Officer and Video Service Director and Flag Design Ad Hoc Committee Chair. So there's a lot of symbolism buried within this flag. To really understand a flag, you have to know the symbolism. So to start, you see the 3 mountain peaks there. Those are the 3 most prominent peaks to Pocatello. So Scout Mountain, Kimport, and Chinese Peak. In addition to representing those those peaks. They also represent industry, recreation, and education. Now we've got the compass rose on the top of the tallest peak there, and that symbolizes Pocatello's central role as a hub for transportation, and specifically rail, air, and road. Also representing the compass would be a symbol for direction. So using that compass rose and its ties to direction, it also points back to our past, present, and future. The color gold, it represents our agricultural ties. The lower white portion of the star, that it forms an abstract arrowhead, acknowledging our ties to the Native American heritage in the area, as well as showing the snowy peaks that we often enjoy here in Pocatello. And then from there, it conveys an upward motion that shows a positive hope for a future. And then at the bottom there, you have that blue stripe that represents the Portneuf River. So there's a lot going on there.
And as far as the experts are concerned, how did they respond to this?
So in addition to our local experts who got behind this flag, we had 3 presidents of the North American Vexillological Association. So the folks who rated us at the bottom, 2 of them rated this flag. They rated it 4.5 and 5 stars. And let me pull one of their comments up here real quick. So what they said is they called the flag very distinctive, bold, and tells a story in one glance. Now that 3rd member of the North American Vexillological Association, that is John Hartvigsson. He's the current president of NAVA, and he was actually on our expert panel and helped us come up with this design after the rounds of public input and feedback.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Council President, I would really appreciate the members of this committee standing. I've never seen such good support for a
resolution.
Yeah, this is great.
So, Mr. President,
I want
Thank you.
Were you able to get Bruno Mars back here for this?
Roman Mars? Bruno would be cool. I've reached out to him, and I haven't been able to hear back yet. We'll be reaching out again if the resolution passes to say, hey, we're going to be having a flag raising. We'd love to have you here.
If not, we will hand deliver the flag to him and ask him specifically to address it on his next podcast.
To have another TED Talk and let us know what he thinks. Yeah.
Well, again, there was some applause here, but I again, in our study session, and some of the individuals here tonight had to leave prior to that. Cannot applaud you enough and the enthusiasm and the hours and time that was spent here. How painful it must be, because there's 6 of us normally up here, and we can't come to a consensus quite often. So,
but we generally make everybody happy when we do.
Yeah, right.
Generally.
I can't say enough of that. Again, it's probably not my favorite choice of a flag. Okay, I understand the symbolism that can be attached with it, and Logan has done a great job given that description. I guess that's why I'm not part of the Vexillology Association. I mean, but
very vexing.
What, huh?
Very vexing.
Well,
I'm very vexed.
But again, no matter how the vote goes, thank you so much for your efforts and for your time. That's priceless, okay? That's priceless. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Well, I was going to make a comment along the similar lines. I know it's been tough for the committee. You know, there's always going to be somebody that's negative about it, no matter what design we came up with. And so I just wanted to say the same, which is they've done a great job and they've made a tremendous effort. And I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just one last question.
Yeah.
There are other cities that have tried to do this. How often are they successful to get to the point where we're at tonight?
Here recently, I saw a city in Vermont. They were successful in redesigning theirs. Another one, South Bend, Indiana. They redid theirs. It's been hit and miss. You know, one of the case studies we really looked at and followed was the Oregon case study, where there was an effort to change the Oregon state flag, which ultimately failed because of lack of buy-in from the state legislature there. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but everyone's welcome to try if they've got a flag that they don't like.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So we have a motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Mr. Johnston. Any further discussion? Okay, Connie, please call the roll.
Moore.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Orr.
In the spirit of consensus upon the dais here tonight, yes.
Brown.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much for your service. That motion passes, and we have a new city flag. Thank you very much.
Now, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Is that what the blank flagpole is out there for?
That was the... Okay. Yes, that was the intent. So we will now have a city flag on that flagpole. From here, we will be hosting a first flag raising at some point here in the near future. We'll get, like I said, we'll try and get Mr. Mars back, try and get CBS back here, at least do an update on it, and go from there.
Well, you should have planned better, so you could have had it with the Bill Davidson meal.
On that note, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item number 13, Insurance Benefit Consultant Contract, Levitt Group. Council may wish to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the Levitt Group in the amount of $42,000 to be the insurance benefit consultant for the city of Pocatello beginning October 1, 2017. Council.
Is there anything new that we've learned about this group from when we talked about them before? I move the Levitt Group beginning October 1st as our insurance and benefit consultant.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnston and a second by Ms. Adamson. Further discussion? Connie, please call the roll.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Orr.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 14, Drug and Alcohol Testing Services Agreement, Transit. Council may wish to authorize the city to enter into a professional services agreement with Mountain View Hospital, LLC, for drug and alcohol testing for the City of Pocatello Regional Transit Department pursuant to Federal Transit Authority requirements and City Employee Department of Transportation commercial carrier licenses. Term of the agreement is 5 years, beginning August 1, 2017, and terminating on July 31st, 2022.
I would move to approve the agreement.
Second.
Well, okay, thank you. You guys are efficient. I was just thinking, I don't know if I've ever read 2022 in a meeting. So we have a motion by Mr. Moore and a second by Mr. Orr. Further discussion?
In the year 2525.
She won't get it.
Connie, please call the roll.
Moore.
Yes.
Orr.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. Agenda item number 15, Construction Cooperative Agreement. Council may wish to authorize the mayor's signature, subject to legal department review, on the construction cooperative agreement among the parties involved in the construction of the North Gate interchange and local connecting roads.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Or Mr. President. I didn't want to...
I don't want a new job.
Project any out for future events, but Mr. President, I would move that we authorize this agenda item up to $500,000 and authorize the mayor's signature, subject to legal department
You
review.
want up to or not to exceed?
Not to exceed. I will change that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
Sure the 500 works.
501 is...
Well, I'm just saying, but we've talked about those. Doesn't this encompass those other things? Or
No.
Okay.
This is just the initial,
Okay.
and then we'll address those as they come up.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right, so we have a motion from Mr. Orr and a second by Mr. Johnston. Any further discussion? Then Connie, please call the roll.
Ford.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes, thank you very much. Agenda item number 16, an ordinance approving an amendment to the fiscal year 2017 appropriations ordinance, providing for an increase in expenditures in the general fund and police grant fund in the amount of $61,222, providing that the revenue to pay for said increases shall be derived from transfers, grants, unexpected revenues, and unappropriated cash balances. This ordinance has been prepared for reading under rules of suspension, but remember, the whole ordinance will need to be published.
Mr. Council President,
Yes.
I move the ordinance agenda item number 16 be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that the entire ordinance be submitted for publication.
Second.
Okay. And, sorry, I grabbed the wrong paper.
It's okay.
We already did that. Motion, ask Connie to call the roll. I only do this once a year.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. I will use the gavel now and say, I declare that to be the final reading of...
Actually, you need...
Rich, would you please read the ordinance?
Yes, I would, Mr. Thank you for trying to speed this up.
I ungavel that.
An ordinance of the City of Pocatello Municipal Corporation of Idaho amending ordinance number 2970, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal period October 1, 2016 through September 30, 2017, as previously amended in ordinance number 2988, providing for an increase in expenditures in the general fund and police grant fund, which increases the total fiscal expenditures by $61,222, providing that the revenue to pay for said increases shall be derived from transfers, grants, unexpected revenues, and previously unappropriated cash balances, providing that all other portions of the appropriation ordinance number 2970, not herein previously amended in ordinance number 2988, not herein shall remain in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, publication according to law, the rule requiring that an ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions having been dispensed with.
I declare that to be the final reading. Council, shall the ordinance pass?
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Ordinance passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 17, discussion items. This time has been set aside to hear discussion items not listed on the agenda. Items which appear somewhere else on the agenda will not be discussed at this time. The council is not allowed to take any official action at this meeting on matters brought forth under this agenda item, and items will either be referred to the appropriate staff or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. You must sign in at the start of the meeting in order to be recognized, and just as a note, the total time allotted for this is 15 minutes, with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Our first speaker will be James Riley.
I'm James Riley. I live at 4570 Johnny Creek Road. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm here to talk to you about the water system on Johnny Creek. When we were annexed, it was our understanding that the city would take over the operation and maintenance of the water system on Johnny Creek. Since that point in time in 1976 till 3 weeks ago, we've had no activity at all. 3 weeks ago, we developed a leak in our driveway, and I called the city to come and take care of the leak. They told us at that time that an ordinance had been passed in 2000 that restricted the cities there to the right-of-way of Johnny Creek. From that point in time on, any lines extending beyond that were the property of the homeowners. Then I went and did my homework. We had a water loss on the same line in 2004, 4 years after that ordinance was passed, which was dug up and repaired by the city. So until this point, I'm saying the city is a utility, just like the power company, just like the gas company. They service from their main to the meter. With this ordinance, they stop at the right-of-way, and this becomes private property. My meter is next to my garage door. It is a lengthy distance, but it's still city water, and it's still, that meter is city property, and if this is a private line, the city is trespassing on my property with their meter. All I want the city to do is simply be a standard utility and take care of it from the main to the meter. I'd answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you for your comments. We'll have appropriate staff also inform us of the city's position, and we'll get back with you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Mr. Riley.
Dr. Mike Riley. I have to say that. Dr. Riley.
Yes.
Are you related?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. Today I want to talk briefly about maintaining access to public sidewalks. I've run across some issues that I think are important, and I know all of our citizens want to maintain and keep our city as accessible as possible. What we've got is we've got vegetation growing out on the sidewalks, which makes it difficult for me to pass and use the sidewalk safely, because when somebody's vegetation grows out from the fence out onto the sidewalk and cuts that 3-foot sidewalk down to 1.5 feet, that pushes me toward the lane of traffic, which is dangerous. Now, I being the adventurous type, I have no problem with going out into the bike lane, even though Lieutenant Manning would not like me to do that. He's probably going to pull me over one of these days in his unmarked patrol vehicle, but there are obstacles that I just can't get around when that much sidewalk is taken away. The other point I want to make before my time is up, we have a lot of these A-frame advertisement things that you see on the sidewalks. I would ask that businesses please put those A-frames out toward the lane of traffic so that I can go behind them instead of in front of them, because then again, it keeps me away from the edge of the sidewalk. I'll give you one last example. The reason why I'm concerned about this situation with vegetation is I've had to use my book bag as a brush guard to push the vegetation out of the way to be able to use the sidewalk. Now, the other day I had my left motor on the other chair that I have caught on fire. I kid you not. little did I think that, driving it like I stole it, which is my motto, did I think that my motor would actually catch on fire. So there is a safety concern with having to drive through brush and creating a situation like that. I see I have about 31 seconds left, so I won't belabor the point. I think we do a great job of keeping the sidewalks open. I would just ask citizens to take a look. If you see something, say something. If you see broken glass, if you see bushes that are impeding the use of the sidewalk, say something so we can take care of it. Thank you.
And are you able to shoot us an email or do something if you go through a specific area that's a real problem for you? I mean, are you able to do that?
Yes, I can do that, and I'd be happy to do that. And I can certainly identify some places that are of particular interest, and I would be happy to do that. And I know that there are some businesses in town that have been very helpful with taking care of their vegetation. One, for example, is 5th Street Bagelry. I brought it to their attention and they took care of it. Although, with vegetation, you've got to take care of it every year. So there are some places where the ramps are just not usable because you got to force the bush back to be able to use it.
If you could shoot us an email with the address, and we'll get Lieutenant Manning right on it.
I just don't want him to have to pull me over because I don't know how we fill out the paperwork on that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just for the public's information, A-frame sandwich advertising boards are not allowed in the city of Pocatello unless under certain exceptions. So.
Well, I've actually ran over a couple.
I've noticed there are several out, so we'll get on that.
We'll look for the skid marks.
Okay. Idaho Lorax.
Good evening on this nice summer day. I've been asked to just mention to our community in our coming up year the issue of legacy, of what we're going to be remembered by, like our flag. It's a nice change. So that's an example that we can change things. There was some discussion about can people really change flags or, tradition. Well, the legacy of the uranium contamination of our valley is something, we can address, we can always address, and we can always change. I deal with a lot of people all the time, and to a lot of people, this is their home. Many of you, probably your home. And so that legacy mainly reflect on those who stay, not the transients, not the people who come and get angry and leave, not the people who even died. That's their relatives also, same thing. And so those concerns about what our legacy is, and not just for us, but our university, our region, because it's not just our problem, Pocatello. So I was just asked to address that, consider that in the time of new flags. Hopefully we can wave a flag that says we are nuclear contamination free or something like that. And so that would be a much better picture perspective. As we used to always say in northern Idaho, cleanup is always better than the word cover up. So we can still change that around, even though that's a darn big uranium pile outside of town, but mainly concerned what's in town. So anyways, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Joe Richmond.
Give him help you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, council members. This is the first time I've been in this meeting for quite a while. I think the last time was on the Big Mama's house issue that came up back around March, I believe it was. Anyway, I'm here to present a one-man campaign that I've been kept dear to my heart for many, many months, and that is to promote the name of Babe Cash to our beautiful South Valley Connector Bridge out on the south end of town. He is one
man that I've known for over 50 years. I was closely associated with him during his years at Idaho State University. I have the more respect for that gentleman, I think, than any other person I know in Pocatello. And I know some of you probably remember when he was on the city council. I'm sure Gary Moore remembers Babe, don't you, Babe? But another thing, too, he was born October 3rd, 1917, which would make him 100 years old this coming October. And I think it would be real wonderful if the city of Pocatello could designate that connector bridge as a memorial for I.J. Babe Cascia, maybe definitely the most successful football coach the college has ever had over here. He was their head coach for 14 years. He had 2 undefeated teams. No other coach that they've ever had has even had 1 undefeated team. So I just think it would be a neat idea and a tremendous honor for his widow to see it happen. She's another dear friend of mine, Tracy Cascia. But he raised his kids here. Most of them graduated from college, either here or at Moscow. And he's just been a credit to this entire community his whole life. He loved this town, I think, more than anything else. He proved that by all the activities he got involved with. He was one of the organizers of the Pocatello Marathon that's growing and growing every year, which will be coming up, I guess, probably the Labor Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He was also an organizer of the Taste of Idaho parties that we put on back in the early 80s for all of the visiting teams to come here for the 1AA football playoffs. And as far as I know, I've known Babe, we were close buddies, went fishing with him a couple of times, went to ball games with him, and he became a dear friend of mine after several years of associating with him. So if you could give that some real serious thinking, and I really hope you'll get behind it with me. Like I said, there's only 2 other people in the whole town that have heard about this besides myself. One is my wife, and the other is a guy that played quarterback for Babe back in the mid-'60s.
Mr. Richmond, thank you. Your 3 minutes is up.
Am I done?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to read this brief letter that he submitted.
We could certainly take that and make copies for everybody.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Okay.
Thanks much.
Justin Johnson. He left? We've been waiting the whole meeting.
Just a sign-in sheet.
Okay. Well then, that comes to the conclusion of our meeting, and we'll adjourn. Thank you very much for joining us.